You're 49 years old, sitting at your kitchen table at 11 p.m., laptop open, staring at a retirement account balance that doesn't feel like enough. You've worked for almost 30 years. You've paid your mortgage, raised your kids, missed vacations to cover braces and car repairs. And now this number on the screen is supposed to tell you something about the rest of your life. Is it enough? Are you behind? Everyone online seems to have $1 million already, or a number they hit years ago. You don't feel like either of those people. Here's the strange part. Most people who are actually fine, genuinely, quietly fine, don't feel fine. And a lot of people who feel fine are walking straight into a wall they can't see yet. For years, I thought being on track meant a specific number, a magic figure someone on the internet told me I needed by 49. I chased that number, missed it, panicked, and almost made some terrible decisions because of the panic. And here's what I eventually figured out. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't manage money for a living. I'm someone who spent most of my 30s avoiding my 401 statements like they were past due bills. I didn't open a Roth IRA until I was 34. I cashed out a retirement account in my 20s to cover rent, which is one of the most expensive mistakes a person can make. So when I talk about being on track, I'm not talking down to you from some ivory tower. I'm talking to you the way I wish someone had talked to me. No shame, no lecture. Just the truth about what actually matters at this age and what doesn't. Because here's the thing nobody tells you. Being on track at 49 was never about hitting one perfect number. It's about 5 specific signs. And once you know them, you can check yourself against reality instead of against some stranger's highlight reel. Let me introduce you to 2 people. We'll call them Dave and Marcus. Both turned 49 this year. Both live in mid-sized American cities. Both make around $85,000 a year. On paper, almost identical lives. Dave feels behind. He looks at his 401 cadence, a little under $310,000, and feels a knot in his stomach. He's convinced he's failed. Marcus feels fine. His accounts show about $340,000. He shrugs it off and figures things will work out. Here's the twist. By the time we're done, you'll see that the balance isn't what separates them. What separates them is something almost nobody talks about on Finance YouTube. And one of them is about to make a mistake that could cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars, even though his number looks better today. Keep that in mind. We're going to come back to Dave and Marcus at every stage. Picture a garden hose left running in your backyard all day. Some of that water goes into the ground and stays there, feeding roots you can't see. Some of it just runs off the driveway into the street and disappears. That's the metaphor we're using today, the hose and the roots. Your retirement balance is the water you can see pooling on the surface right now. What actually determines your future is what's rooted underground: habits, contribution rates, debt, and time still left to grow. Dave looks at his surface puddle and panics. Marcus looks at his and relaxes. Neither of them has checked the roots yet. Sign number 1 of being on track. You know your real savings rate, not just your balance. Fidelity's well-known retirement guideline suggests aiming for roughly 6 times your salary saved by age 50. For someone making $85,000, that's about $510,000. Neither Dave nor Marcus is there. Let that sink in. But here's what that guideline misses. A savings rate of 15% of income, sustained consistently, matters more at 49 than the exact balance today, because you still have 15 to 20 working years of contributions and growth ahead of you. Dave contributes 6% and stops there, because that's where his employer match ends. Marcus contributes 14%, even though it's tighter month to month. The roots are growing differently, even though the puddle looks similar. Here's what nobody talks about. You can have a beautiful 401k balance and still be financially fragile because debt is a leak in the hose. Every dollar going to high-interest debt is water that never reaches the roots. Dave has $22,000 in credit card debt at 24% interest, left over from a rough couple of years after a layoff. He's been telling himself he'll deal with it after the market recovers. Marcus has no credit card debt, but he's still carrying a car loan and a small home equity line from a kitchen remodel. Sign number 2 of being on track. Your high-interest debt is gone or has a real payoff date. This is the part where I have to be honest with you. The way I wish someone had been honest with me. It doesn't matter how much you contribute to your Roth IRA this year. If 24% interest is eating you alive every month, that math doesn't work in your favor. It never has. Read that again. Here's where the metaphor pays off. A hose running for 30 years builds deep roots. A hose that just started running 5 years ago has shallow ones, no matter how much water you pour on it once. At 49, you likely have somewhere between 15 and 20 years before you'd consider retire. That's still enough time for real compound growth, but only if the money stays in the ground instead of leaking out. Sign number 3 of being on track. You understand roughly what your current contributions will become, not just what they are today. This is where a lot of people freeze up because nobody ever showed them the math in a way that felt real instead of abstract. So let's do that now. Let's follow Marcus for a moment, because his habits, not his current balance, are what set him apart. Age 49, contributes 14% of $85,000 annually, about $11,900 a year. Current balance, $340,000. By age 59, assuming a 7% average annual return, that balance grows to roughly $850,000. Think about that for a moment. That's not because Marcus is a genius investor. It's because he kept the hose running steadily for another decade without letting it leak. Now, let's follow Dave. Age 49, contributes 6% of $85,000 annually, about $5,100 a year. Current balance, $310,000. By age 59, factoring in $22,000 of credit card debt, still being paid down at 24% interest, his balance grows to roughly $610,000. Let that sink in. A $30,000 gap in today's balance turned into a $240,000 gap 10 years later. Not because Dave is lazy or bad with money, because the leak in his hose quietly cost him a small fortune in growth he never got to see happen. Here's what nobody talks about. The retirement industry loves to obsess over your balance because it's simple and it's scary. Scary sells. But your balance today is largely the result of decisions you made 10, 15, 20 years ago. You cannot go back and change those. What you can change, starting today, is the rate at which water flows into the roots from this point forward. The Employee Benefit Research Institute has found that a meaningful share of American workers feel behind on retirement savings at almost every income level. Feeling behind and being behind are not the same thing. But the system profits when you can't tell the difference, because panic sells more expert advice and more products. This is the moment I want you to sit with. You are not required to feel guilty about your balance today. You are required to be honest about your habits going forward. But how do you actually survive this phase? The years between I don't feel ready and I actually am ready. I think the honest answer is that survival at 49 isn't about finding a shortcut. It's about 3 specific shifts. First, stop comparing your puddle to someone else's puddle. You have no idea what debt, health issues, or family obligations sit behind someone else's number. Comparison at this age is just anxiety wearing a disguise. Second, automate the boring stuff so willpower isn't required every month. Increase your 401k contribution by 1% today, right now, if you can. You likely won't even notice it missing from your paycheck, and future, you will notice it enormously. Third, attack the highest interest leak first, not the biggest number. A $22,000 credit card balance at 24% interest is more urgent than a $180,000 mortgage at 6%. Interest rate, not size, tells you where the water is actually escaping. Sign number 4 of being on track. You have a plan for Social Security and Medicare, not just a hope. Most people your age haven't looked at their Social Security estimate at SSA.gov, and most haven't thought about the fact that Medicare eligibility doesn't start until 65, meaning healthcare coverage in your early 60s. If you retire early is a real gap to plan for, not an afterthought. Sign number 4 of being on track. You have a plan for Social Security and Medicare, not just a hope. Sign number 5 of being on track. You've named an actual retirement age, even a rough one, instead of leaving it undefined. An undefined goal is like a hose running with no destination. A defined one Even a loosely sketched one tells your roots where to grow. If you're in your 30s and early 40s watching this, your action step is simple. Raise your contribution rate by at least 1% this month. Your mindset shift is this. The roots you build now matter more than the puddle you see today. You have decades of hose still running. If you're in your 50s watching this, your action step is to get a real number for your Social Security estimate and figure out your Medicare timeline before you need. Your mindset shift is this. You're not behind because your balance isn't perfect. You're on track if your roots are still growing and your leaks are shrinking. If you're in your 60s or a late starter watching this, your action step is to talk to a fee-only fiduciary advisor about a realistic income plan, even a short consultation. Your mindset shift is this. Retirement isn't a finish line you either cross or fail. It's a hose you can still redirect, even late, even now. Dave eventually did check his roots. He tackled the credit card debt first, raised his contribution rate by 2%, and stopped checking his balance every single week like it was a scoreboard. Marcus, for his part, learned that feeling fine isn't the same as being informed, and he finally looked at his Social Security estimate for the first time in his life. Neither of them found a magic number. What they found was a direction. Being on track at 49 was never about arriving somewhere. It's about the water still moving steadily toward roots you can't fully see yet, trusting that what you plant today is still enough time to grow into something real. If this helped you see your own situation a little more clearly, you might like the video where we walk through exactly how much you should have saved by 60 and what to do if you're not there yet.